Secretary.
Thank you, Convener, and good morning, colleagues. I very much welcome the opportunity to discuss the Legislative Consent Memorandum, the Supplementary LCM and the second Supplementary LCM in relation to those proposals in the UK Government Crime and Policing Bill for which the Scottish Parliament has devolved competence. This is a large and complex bill covering numerous different policy areas, and while we support the overall purpose of the bill that extends to Scotland, we have not needed to accept every measure. For example, in cases where we have our own legislation in place or have plans to introduce our own legislation, for example, in relation to child retention abroad, subject to consultation. However, where there are benefits to Scotland, the Scottish Government is happy to propose legislative consent to the relevant provisions within this bill. The bill covers a range of important topics, and I would like to draw your attention to a couple of the provisions. The bill provides a new UK-wide offence to disrupt adults who criminally exploit children, supporting a Four Nations approach to tackling child criminal exploitation, and my officials continue to work with the UK Government on the offence as further amendments to the bill are expected. Related to child criminal exploitation offence is the new offence of cuckooing. This offence will seek to criminalise individuals who take control over the home of a vulnerable individual by intimidation or other means and use it to carry out criminality. Members will be aware of the devastating impact that criminal exploitation and cocoon can have on individuals and their families, and it is hoped that these new powers will strengthen our ability to prosecute those who exploit vulnerable people. I have recently addressed the questions raised by the Delegated Powers and Law Reform Committee in relation to several delegated powers in the bill, including questions on the powers to implement international agreements on sharing information for law enforcement purposes and the power to make consequential provision. And I look forward to reading the report in due course. We also expect more amendments triggering a further supplementary LCM to come forward shortly. My officials are still liaising with the UK Government on the detail of those clauses. However, we expect it to include measures covering offensive weapons, child criminal exploitation prevention orders and online child sex abuse. We had initially hoped that the amendments would have been tabled in the House of Lords in sufficient time for us to lodge a third supplementary LCM in advance of this committee meeting, but we now expect the additional amendments to be tabled around mid-October. This third supplementary LCM will also recommend extending clause 41 in relation to providing the child criminal exploitation offence. The extension of this clause to Scotland was included in the draft bill previously, but was accidentally omitted from the second supplementary LCM. There isn't enough time in the short opening remarks to go into the detail on all the clauses contained within the LCMs, but of course, Convener, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that your committee have.
Okay.